Diego is from Mexico, and he's got a question regarding the difference between a professional drummer and an amateur. So he's just saying here, I would like to know your thoughts on what the difference is between a professional drummer and an amateur, because some days I feel like I'm getting better, closer to a pro, and then other days I feel like I'm getting worse and worse. I've been playing for about 3 or 4 years, and been playing in a serious project for about 1.5. I know I'm just starting, but sometimes I feel like I get stuck or even worse at drums. Diego from Mexico. First of all, man, I think you're getting your terms mixed up. I think what you were trying to say is, what's the difference between an advanced drummer and an amateur drummer? Because I mean, the fact of the matter is, as long as you're getting paid to play, you're a professional. So it doesn't make any difference. You've been playing 5 years or 50. If you're getting paid to play your drums, you can consider yourself a professional. So to rephrase your question, it would kind of make more sense to me to say, what's the difference between an advanced drummer and an amateur drummer? And the answer to that is just experience. So you mentioned that, some days you feel like you're all right, and then other days you feel like you just suck. Guess what, man? Join the club. I've been playing for like 30 years. I still have days where I think I suck. The main difference is the experience. So the big thing now, man, is like when I have bad days now, I still sound pretty good. My bad days these days are the times that I think that I get off stage and really get down on myself and think that I really sucked. People are still walking up to you, giving you compliments on how good you sounded, right? So as you advance on the drums, the better you get, the higher your personal standards get. You just keep raising the bar on yourself, right? Or at least you should. So yeah, you're gonna have days where you think, yeah, man, I could have played that way, way better than I did. And you just keep picking apart all the mistakes you made, which for the most part, you're the only one that heard them. Most people in the audience, if you did mess up at all, wouldn't even tell that you messed up. So yeah, man, I'm just gonna kind of rephrase your question and ask it how I think you were meaning to ask it. And like I said, the only difference is experience. Now you've only been playing for 3 or 4 years, man. You still a new model. You hardly have any mileage on you. You got a long way to go. So just keep working at it. Be patient, and trust me, it doesn't make any difference how long you end up playing. You're always gonna have days where you think you suck. Dave O didn't mention where he was from, but I want to get to this question, man, because I think a lot of us are going to relate to his situation. And so I'm just going to read a chunk of this so I can give you the context of his question. So he's just saying, I just played my first show as a drummer and it went pretty well. A couple days before the show, the other band that was on the bill with us contacted me and asked me to use my drum set. I agreed with the stipulation that they bring their own cymbals and snare. I don't have expensive or unique equipment. I just didn't want to seem like a total pushover. At the same time, I wanted to be easy to work with to increase the chances of getting hooked up with more shows. The reality was the other drummer just didn't feel like dragging his equipment from the suburbs to the city. Turned out fine, and the other drummer was respectful, but there's still something about it that sticks in my craw. I get it. What are your thoughts on letting other musicians use your equipment? I imagine it's different for professionals like yourself, as opposed to amateurs like myself who are just having fun with it. Thanks, Buzz. Buzz, let me tell you something, man. I, along with most people watching, sympathize with you. I will say you handled it like a champ. That being said, dude, I hate when I get notified from someone in somebody else's camp asking if they can use my kit. And it's not because I'm a jerk. It's just the most annoying part of multiple band bills. I don't know who you are. I don't know how you play. And I like my stuff. You see this thing right here? Let me tell you something. If you're going to play this thing, man, I want a complete resume, police background check. I want to know your mother's maiden name, your family history. I need to know all that stuff. It's not exactly an unprofessional question to ask. It's an unprofessional question to ask at the last minute. But again, man, you handled it like a champ. And I'm kind of like you, to be honest with you. I mean, I don't want to look like the jerk in the room. And you totally did the right thing by saying, listen, bring your own cymbals, bring your own snare, and even bring your own pedal. Because I don't know if you hit like a gorilla or not. You know what I mean? And I don't want nobody touching my stuff. You know, I respect this gear that I have. I take care of it. And if I don't know how you play, we might have a problem. Now, I will say, just to be fair, that in a lot of situations, it hasn't been bad. First of all, I haven't had to do it a whole lot, especially, you know, over the last 5 or 10 years. Doing this professionally, the whole drum kit situation is always kind of taken care of ahead of time. You know what I mean? So we're not in a lot of situations now where I have to deal with shared kits. There have been times where I've had to use the other person's kit, and you know, it doesn't happen a lot, but in the handful of times that it has happened, it's been just fine. Like, I totally try to be respectful for other people's gear and other people's setups too, because, you know, I'm like 6'2". If the other drummer is 5'3", I'm gonna have to adjust to his setup if he prefers I don't move anything around. So, you know, sometimes it's an uncomfortable set for me to play, you know, an uncomfortable 20 minutes or 30 minutes or whatever. You know, if I'm playing on this kit that's been set up for a 5-footer, I might have to adjust if he insists that I don't move anything around. Most drummers aren't like that, though. So most guys will let you adjust to what you need to do, and it's okay in those cases. But, you know, you'll find that the majority of drummers, all the funny stuff aside, the majority of drummers are pretty respectful, and they know, I mean, they're one of us, right? So they should know that we're really picky and we're really nervous about them using our gear. Like, they know about that going in. And in most cases, they're really respectful of it. And, you know, the reason why, it's a necessary evil because it just saves a ton of time, setup and miking and all that. It's just easier to have a couple of guys play the same kit. So yeah, man, you handled yourself well in that situation. It's probably going to happen again. But I mean, you can mention too, like if a situation like that comes up again and it happens last minute, you can just respectfully say in the email, dude, I really wish that you guys would have let us know, you know, far enough ahead of time. But yes, you can use my gear. Just bring your own breakables and nobody will get shot. Brad is from Ohio, and he's got a question about Nashville. So he's just saying, I have a question regarding moving to Nashville. In previous videos, you've mentioned that you play with a group out of Nashville. In your opinion, what does it take to be a successful drummer there? Specifically, a touring musician. Thanks, Brad from Ohio. Yeah, so I do play with a country duo that's based out of Nashville, but they used to live up here in Canada. They just relocated to Nashville. So I don't play with them down there. Down there, they make a whole separate living as songwriters. The whole thing with Nashville, man, is that there is some truth to the fact that it's a great spot for musicians to be. Personally, I think that's true if you're a songwriter or if you're an artist. If you're a singer-songwriter type, and you have that songwriting ability, that's the spot for you to be. And even in that situation, it's a really tough nut to crack. I think it's 10 times harder as a sideman because the pot down there is gigantic. Nashville is a great spot for singer-songwriters and artists because they have opportunities where they can go play places like the Bluebird, where they can just carry their guitar and go in there, sing in front of a crowd of people. If you're a drummer, trying to find somebody to play with down there, way harder, man. You can't walk in to a place like the Bluebird and just decide to set up your kit and start playing. Like, it just doesn't happen that way. If there are places where where it's sort of an open night, where you're allowed to sit in on a couple of songs or whatever, I would try to get a hold of as many of those as you can and just frequent those events. It's still largely an industry that's based on talent. So the upside to it is that eventually, as long as you're good, eventually somebody's going to see it. Somebody that knows somebody is going to see you. And then eventually you'll start to make more connections and weave your way into some different situations and just meet more people. So, I mean, I'm sure that you weren't expecting it to be easy, when you asked that question. I'm not saying it's a bad spot to be for talented playing musicians. It is a good spot to be. It's just way harder as a sideman than as an actual artist or a singer-songwriter. But for you, man, I'd say make a few trips out of it. You know what I mean? Like, if you can handle it, if you got a day job or whatever, but if you can go a few times out of the year for whatever, like a week at a time, that'll be worth your time doing it. You know what I mean? And just plant yourself in there and start networking. And like I said, if there's anywhere where you can get in and display your talent, as many opportunities as you can find where you can display your talent down there, you can do it. Because the other cool thing about Nashville and about the Strip down there at Broadway is that you can run into anybody at any time. And when I say anybody, I'm not talking about stars. I'm talking about, you'll be sitting in a bar, watching some band, and the guitar player up there might be the guitar player for friggin' Taylor Swift. Like, everybody down there is just regular people, right? So you can run into anyone down there. So if the right person sees you, you start exchanging numbers and email addresses and all that kind of stuff. It's all about the networking, man. So it's worth a shot. If you think you have the talent and you can do it and it's feasible for you financially, it's worth a hit because, not all session guys that are in Nashville are from Nashville. They've come in from different places, Georgia, Texas, wherever, right? So you have just as good a shot as anybody, and you have to be present to win, right? So you got to plant yourself in that environment if you want to have a shot at it. So yeah, hopefully, none of this was meant to discourage you or anything. Just be prepared to know it's going to be a tough nut to crack. But if you're talented, eventually you'll make your way. Thanks for your questions. Send them to askbeatdown@gmail.com. Try to do this once a week. Like, subscribe. See you next video.